Okay, and then I'll just need to upload your bio. So I'll give a quick introduction, to yourself, and then, okay, great. Everything ready? Finally, I'm so sorry. Okay.
It's okay. I'm just checking the time so that I don't exceed.
Okay, very good. Okay, great. Welcome to SIS Startup Impact Summit. I am super thrilled to have Hima with us here today, giving us a fantastic talk about cybersecurity, demand for digital forensics. I learned a lot of new words when going, through your talk. I'll give a quick introduction and presentation to our audience about Hima. Hima, you are the co-founder of CyborPsy. And you are also an author, speaker, and security evangelist. You have over 17 years of experience in the IT industry. You are currently working as a senior engineer manager for leading NK's forensics, e-discovery, and security. And you have implemented entitlement management frameworks that supported all fixed income and equity capital market products of complex trading systems, built production environments with multiple auto failovers for BCP, with no outage for leading banks. And you won hackathons, tons of hackathons organized by NASSCOM, etc. But fun fact, you also hold the Guinness Book World Record for Microsoft AppFest Windows 8 Hackathon. And you are a volunteer for Girls in Tech, workaway.info, right? A brand ambassador for DevOps Institute. And you are very passionate about, not only about cybersecurity and digital forensic, but also giving back to the community and women in computing. Amazing.
Thank you, Karina. That's so nice of you. You're very kind.
Welcome. So, and we'll stop here, the screen sharing, so you can actually share your screen and start your keynote.
Sure. Thank you, Karina. That's a very good introduction. And I'm really passionate about giving back to community. So can you see my screen?
Fantastic. I can see your screen if you want to go on presenter mode.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I'll start with the real life incident. In 1974, January 15th, a family had murdered a wife, husband, their son, and daughter were killed by a serial killer. There has been very pandemic situation in streets of Wichita, a city in United States, at Kansas. People were really afraid to go out, even sit at home, similar to our current COVID-19 pandemic situation. This case has been mystery till 30 plus years. This is not a story. This is a real life story. From 1974 to 1991, there has been series of murders happened by this serial killer. He has named himself as BTK Killer, bind, torture, and kill. Now, let's see how digital forensics technology helped in resolving this case. And not only this case, similar such number of cases in multiple domains. Good morning all, my name is Hima. I'm a core member and founding member of CyberPsy. Please feel to follow me at Forensic Hima, and Karan has given a beautiful introduction about me. This is our company profile, and we have a Facebook group where we are actually engaging community on digital forensics, cyber law, cyber psychology, and cyber security. And we have Instagram and Twitter account at CyberPsy. Feel free to follow. So before we could start, I would like to put a disclaimer. The views expressed in this talk are my personal views, do not reflect my employer opinions. And this is a voluntary talk to contribute to the community. And thank you, W Hub and Karina, for giving me this opportunity. I'm excited about my talk. So coming to the agenda, you are going to learn what is digital forensics, how it has evolved and its history, what are the different types of forensics and their real life use cases, what are the career opportunities, how to get started and number of certifications in it, and what are the resources and next steps. Coming to digital forensics, it is nothing but identification of what needs to be investigated, collecting, that is like preserving, extracting the information through valid legal methodology, and also analyzing this extracted information, processing this information, and documenting this information and report any findings and presenting it in the court of law from a digital device. What do you mean by digital device? Any device that can read zeros or ones. For example, your smartphone, your laptop, desktop, personal computer, scanner, printer, biometric. So anything that works with binaries. So we can have evidence and we can actually collect evidence from it. So how this technology has evolved. From 1847 to 1915, the first use of scientific study to head criminal investigation has started. But the actual use of cyber investigations, digital forensics, cyber forensics, these terms has come from 1982 to 1911. So Francis Galton, he devised a method for classifying fingerprints that proved useful in forensic science. In 1998, the first graphical user interface forensic tool that can use to create an evidence using mouse click called Expert Witness for Windows was released. In 2002, the first network-enabled digital forensic tool to be used in forensics was released. And Scientific Working Group on Digital Evidence, which was published the first book about the digital forensic best practices for computer science in 2002. And Simpson in 2010 identified issues facing digital investigations. And from there, 2010 to 2021, it's been a revolution in this domain and the technology. And it's been growing, and there have been a lot of demand because of the current COVID-19 situation. We are all using the work from home option and the digitization. Kids are connecting from home for schools. So this has actually created a number of opportunities for cyber crime people, and even attackers started attacking, right? So this gives us good opportunity for cyber security, especially in this digital forensics, because very few people are there in this domain. So cybercrime damages by 2021 will cost around $6 trillion. This is a statistics as per the survey. So this, looking at this itself, by 2021, there is huge demand and potential in digital forensics and cybersecurity. Now, coming to the types of forensics. So the definition of digital forensics is the same. It is like identifying, extracting, preserving, and presenting. But the type of forensics is how you identify. So based on that, the type changes. For example, disk forensics, as the name suggests, when you extract an evidence from a hard disk, USB, CD, DVD, flash drive, or floppy disk, this is called disk forensics. Network forensics is a type of forensics which is used for intrusion, detection, and logging, where over the network, if you find any evidence and detect the evidence in network, is called network forensics. And wireless forensics is subset of the network forensics, where unauthorized activities across the networks are detected and investigated and found and created an evidence. It is called wireless forensics. Coming to the database forensics, to read the contents and data of the data, metadata, it is called database forensics. And malware forensics is all about your viruses, worms, and trojans. And cloud forensics, which is a critical and important. So now everything is on the cloud, right? So when you connect to cloud and extract the information and create an evidence from the cloud data, it is called cloud forensics. And email forensics is, I have a use case on this, which I'm going to talk in the next slide. So about email hacking, phishing. So you extract the information from your Outlook emails like sent mails, deleted, draft, calendar, contacts, etc. Memory forensics is about RAM, so volatile and creating a memory dump from a device. And similarly, mobile forensics is about extracting the evidence and the data information from mobile, like your gallery, pictures, text, SMS, emails, contacts, audio, video recording, etc. Browser forensics, as the name suggests, in any mobile device, tablet, notebook, or desktop, reading the contents of the browser, whether it is a Safari, Firefox, IE, IH, or anything. So get the data from there, and based on that, creating an evidence. I'll tell you a use case for browser forensics. In 2004, Scott killed his wife, Lassie, and their unborn son. So based on this guy's internet search history and the words that he has used, they were able to find out he's the one who killed it, because when his wife was dead, he was searching for something else, which is a funny thing, which is not required at that time. So based on that, the cyber psychologists and the forensic analysts were able to create an evidence, and then they were able to investigate the suspect and the person who is accusing. So like this, there are a number of use cases, right? So this is an interesting slide. So who is this guy? We all know, right? Mark Zuckerberg,
Yeah.
the world's one of the richest person, billionaire, right? So do we all know he a New York-based entrepreneur called Paul filed a lawsuit against Mark on FB ownership. So Mark, when he was studied in Harvard University, he worked for Paul for an assignment, and Paul paid him $1,000. So he showed those proofs and created a digital evidence and exchange of emails and also fraud documents, claiming that he invested in Facebook, and he has actually filed a lawsuit against billions of dollars, and also Mark's reputation was in stake. So do we all know digital forensics helped to prove Mark's honesty and to come out clean? So how did it help? Email forensics. So when this lawsuit has filed, forensic investigators investigated all Mark's emails inbox since 2003, including the deleted mails we can recover using the forensic tools. And then the same thing they did for Paul, all personal computers and digital devices. So when they did this research, it's clearly found that Paul has created fake exchange of emails, fake documents, fake digital documents, lot of documents. So that's how digital forensics helped in solving this case, and his reputation of a multi-billionaire. So and then in the second picture, right, he's a world famous terrorist, right? Everybody is looking for him. All countries are looking for him, right? So do we all know that digital forensics is the one which helped in capturing Osama bin Laden? When Laden was dead, there is a lot of critical information required was stored in his PC, laptop, and CD-ROMs and disks like that. So when I talked about the forensic type, disk forensics, this is a disk forensics helped in getting the critical information from bin Laden that helped to stop the future attacks. And the third one is, I talked about the BTK serial killer case in my starting of the talk. So this guy called Dennis Rader, who killed killed 10 murders and this case has been mystery for 30 plus years, was able to solve because he sent threatening messages to media in a floppy disk at the time. So then when forensic analysts read that floppy disk data, there was a deleted document that is, they were able to recover from that floppy disk. So that document, when they read the data of the data, metadata, they were able to find out the name of the person and also the location where this file has saved. So this has been a turning point for the case. Once you know the name and the location, it's easy for us to find out who is person, and he has to accept what he has done. So this is how forensic really helped in solving these world popular cases. So not only these cases, right, there are a number of use cases. It is used in corporates, employment disputes, workplace, government agencies, police department, solving number of crimes, defense, Navy, industrial surveillance, IP, intellectual property right theft, terroristic attack, we already talked about the use case. Forgery, Mark's case was forged by Paul, and bankruptcy, fraud, medical investigations. So people claim fake insurance documents to claim that, and fake medical records, and also some medical agencies, the investigations they provide wrong. So those kind of things we can actually, using digital forensics, we can create an evidence which is correct and which is wrong. And also in regulatory compliance, law enforcement offices, and there is number of use cases. Almost all the cases can be resolved using digital forensics, because 96% of the crime involves a digital device in some way or the other. So now we understood the importance and benefits and use cases, right? What is the need for this domain? This is the title of the topic, right? What is the demand for the digital forensic domain? Why this is called a niche domain? Because of the statistics. So by 2020, roughly 200 billion connected devices we all will be using 24/7. So that gives us huge opportunities and number of professional opportunities in this field to work from anywhere. By 2021, approximately $6 trillion is expected to spend globally on cybersecurity. And also by 2022, as per the market forecast, the digital forensics field is expected to grow $9.68 billion versus $4.62 billion, which is in 2017. That is a tremendous growth, right? So this gives us, we all connect emotionally to stories, but the statistics are real, right? So this gives us huge opportunity in this field. So now, how do I get started? You might have that question, right? So we all would have studied OSI model as part of computer networks in our bachelor's degree. So understanding the OSI layer model end to end is mandatory, because digital forensics is all about investigating the data. So if you want to investigate the data, you need to know how the data travels over the network. And to get started, go to forensicfocus.com, and it has number of beginner and advanced articles, materials, and even tools on how to use them. So it would be a good start. And this is a digital forensic group. If you want, you can take a membership, and you can actually get involved with your local digital forensic groups, as well as to connect with the community. And what are the skills required? It is very important that you be self-critical and understand, will I be right fit in this field, right? So basic skills required are you need to understand about the operating systems end to end, and also the computer, how it works, right? So little knowledge on hardware also required. Technical aptitude and knowledge of digital device, analytical skills is must. Nowadays, everybody is expert in digital device. Even my kid knows better than me. So knowledge of digital device, I don't think that should be a problem. A very few skilled people are in this industry, and some people has this question, Hima, do we need a programming knowledge to get into this field? To answer that question, it's not a mandatory skill, but if you have a programming knowledge like Python, C++, or anything, it would be an added advantage to create plugins on that particular tool. And understanding this domain and having passion in this domain is really help you to understand more, create that curiosity. And so if you are more interested in cyber law, investigations, digital device, then it's the right field that you can grow your career. What are the challenges? These are the positives, right? Challenges are, so it's all lot of data, right? So it takes a lot of time to investigate the data and get into the results. Sometimes you might be spending the whole day investigating the data and you may not be getting any evidence out of it, or sometimes it might be months also. So you should not be worried about it, right? So you should have a lot of patience in this field, and maintaining integrity and credibility in this field is very important, because it is very highly confidential data related to the crimes and cases. So else disciplinary actions would have taken. So what are the multiple career opportunities in this field? So each life cycle of the forensic, like collection, extraction, creating evidence, and processing and documenting, presenting, has number of opportunities in the career. So you can be a forensic examiner, forensic analyst, security consultant, mobile forensic analyst, computer crime investigator, cryptanalyst, cryptographer. A lot of opportunities are there. Or if you are passionate about speaking and being a trainer, this is also a very good opportunity. Learn about one tool, and there is huge demand for trainers in a lot of forensic tools, and you can be a instructor in that for the tool as well. That is also a good career. And if you are good at documentation, you can be a forensic author or a journalist as well, right? So in this field, there is no blood, there is no fingerprints, there is no bullet holes, something like that, right? But you will be a digital detective, and you will be a hero or shero in this field, helping for the nation, or multi-millionaire. So who knows, you might be the one who is helping the nation from terroristic attack, or you might be the one who help multi-billionaires from saving their reputation, or you might be the one helping the crime police department in solving a lot of cases, right? So this will be a very good career opportunity for the people who wanted to transform the career to this field, or who wanted to start their career in this field, right? So now, Hima, so we understood the opportunities, right? So how do I investigate, right? So there are a lot of tools to investigate. There are paid tools, there are even open source tools available, right? So each tool has its own pros, its own advantage. I work for NCASE. NCASE is a digital forensic tool that's used to create evidence. So we are gold standards in digital forensics. In my earlier story, BTK Killer, I talked about from 30 plus years, they were able to solve that case, right? So NCASE is the tool that helped in solving that case. No other tool was able to solve during that time. So NCASE actually searches, scans in a secured way, and creates evidence from a digital device, and acquire the evidence which is reliable. We support Apple file system and multiple operating system. We also support cloud forensics. To connect to the cloud, we have decryption support, and volume shadow copies, easy reporting. We use AI, visual threat intelligence. Media analyzer and image analyzer is the best, where you can actually read the contents of the video, and then understand based on the video, like whether it is a bad or good, and create an evidence out of it. We have been like a best forensic solution tool since past 10 years, awarded by SC Magazine community. We have customers worldwide. And Project WIC, this is actually technology for good. This is a community NGO initiative which is supported by National Association to Protect Children. This is also supported by worldwide law enforcement officers to fight against child exploitation. WIC is victim centric, to leave no victims behind. So this helped to identify and rescue a lot of children from sexual exploitation. So NCASE actually partnered with them, and we support Project WIC. So how does it work is NCASE checks case information against the Project WIC hash library by downloading or importing, and then export these images in a JSON file compatible with the Project WIC. So what is the advantage of it? Because of it, we were able to identify lot more victims and also rescue the children from this sexual exploitation. So now we understood that there are some tools, and NCASE is a tool, right? So how do I get that stamp? How do you claim yourself as certified digital investigator? Because without the certification, claiming and supporting court law will not permit, they will not allow you. So the NCASE certifications are NC, the NCASE certified professional, and CFSR certified forensic responder, and NCEP, NCASE certified e-discovery practitioner, and also there is one more from Global Information Assurance certification. This is the advanced certification. So these certifications are worldwide acceptable, and there are also some courses, masters in forensics and degrees in forensics also there. So you can research on that and do your own certification or a course that would help you to understand more and how to use the tools. So with this, I'm almost done with my talk. So to summarize, right? So what did we learn? What is digital forensics? It is nothing but science of preservation, identification, extraction, documentation of digital evidence that can be used in the court of law. And we also discussed about how the process of digital forensic life cycle happens and evolution of digital forensics, the types of different digital forensics, and some use cases, what are the skills required, how to get started, what are the multiple domains and career opportunities, and next steps. So next steps is it's all in your hands to learn at least one forensic tool and build a fruitful career. And these are some of the references. And thank you so much. I am available at Forensic Hima is my Twitter ID. Please feel to follow or reach out to me if you have any questions.
Wow, fantastic, Hima. Thank you so much. Great. And indeed, if you're actually going to stop your, screen sharing, that would be great, because then we can actually have our own videos pick up here. Yes, fantastic. Super amazing. Yes. I learned so much. So actually, yeah, if you want to be the Sherlock Holmes of the digital world era, right? And it's super interesting because I learned actually that it's not only about digital crime, it's anything, right? Even offline crime that you can help solve and prove thanks to the zero and the ones that you said, right? Super interesting. But are actually modern courts already ready to accept this as proof? I still, have, in mind a recording would not be able to use in court. So are our, high courts ready already to use digital forensics?
Oh, pardon me, I didn't get your question. Sorry.
So the question is I still have in mind the fact that some digital recordings are not valid as proof in the courts. So is that changing? Are digital forensics now?
Oh, okay. It's a great question. It's a great question because they can create a fake digital recording and claim that this is. So the digital forensic is all about finding out that is fake or original. So you give me the recording, I can read the contents of the recording, the data, using the metadata and the image files. We can actually investigate, because there are a lot of tools available based on our NCASE. We can actually tell whether it's original or fake. So that's how the digital forensics helps actually.
Wow, and also already then evolved. Amazing. I think, I always love to start and ask the question of why. Why do you become passionate about digital forensics, cybersecurity? I mean, how did you stumble over it? I mean, what happened? You did not wake up one morning, right, and said, I got to be a digital Sherlock Holmes.
That's a good question, Karina. Initially I was into Microsoft technologies and working for security and work for financial organization, right? Where I was basically working on authentication framework and security and capital markets, right? So I got this opportunity, but this product has actually changed my life in the sense it created a lot of passion when I worked for NCASE. My team, my managers, my management, and everyone, right? They were like very supportive, and it created a lot of passion to understand the domain, because without learning the domain, I can't understand the product. And one thing happened is we don't have a product owner for our product, so that gave us opportunity to learn more about the product. So I think we should take adversaries to as opportunity. Every situation convert into opportunity, and develop that passion. So once we understood this importance and what is the scope in this domain, we can actually do wonders. So I feel that people do not know much about cybersecurity opportunities, especially digital forensics, because only 11% women are there in security and cybersecurity. And in digital forensics, it is much lesser than that. So that gives huge opportunities, especially for women in this field, and also not only women, everyone in this field, even for startups, right? They can create something in digital forensics and help the community. So a lot of scope is there in this field. So that's what I'm trying to evangelize as a passionate security evangelist to get more, especially women in this field.
Fantastic. Yeah. And one step here today, right, to promote, to create more visibility. I think I have one last question.
Yes.
So again, given that, in the technology world, there are arguably very little borders, no frontiers. It's a global play. I mean, how much is digital forensics already, a global collaborative approach, or is it still very regional?
Oh, okay. It's a great question. According to me, it's my personal opinion though. According to me, it's mixed opinion actually, in the sense, yeah, work from anywhere, we are global. So that created a lot of opportunities. For example, we are seeing a lot of cyber attacks, recent major attack, right? So there forensic investigators played a lot of major role in investigating and actually recovering and capturing the data that was attacked by attackers, right? So definitely you don't need to be there whether the attack happens in anywhere, right? You can just connect remotely and do work from anywhere, right? So with the globalization, the location doesn't matter. And thanks to COVID, because of that, number of opportunities has been increased. But earlier, before COVID, people are like more in regional, specific, local, and then not that much globalization as, but there are few, like very few percentage of globalization is there. But I think every adversary, I think we should convert as opportunity. But there is no recession for security. There is no recession for cyber security. Security is anywhere. So you have opportunities anywhere. So I think it's a fruitful career. I would advise people who wanted to transform to digital forensics, or who want to start with the digital forensics. This would be really a good, fruitful career, and I wish all the best.
That is a wonderful closing statement. And now we also know who to reach out to. And I fully agree, transforming opportunities or hardship into opportunities. That is actually what brought us together, right? So we found each other thanks to being connected more and more over the internet now at this current situation. So thank you so much, Hima. And you put also here, I'll lift that up. It's Hima at Forensic.
Forensic Hima, Twitter ID.
It's at Forensic Hima is your Twitter ID. Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Hima. And then looking forward to staying connected and hopefully having more and more talent now in digital forensics. Thank you, Hima. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, Karan, and thanks for giving the opportunity. I hope it's useful. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cut. Great. Fantastic. So we'll cut it here off then. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Perfect in time as well. I learned so much. Amazing. Thank you.
Did I exceed the time?
Perfect. No, perfect time. 30 minutes. Exactly. Okay. Perfect. All good. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I'll let you know exactly then also when the streaming is. So if you want to be online exactly at the time when the streaming is, if there are any questions or so, I'll still need to, make sure that our chat room is working, because if afterwards you want to engage or, the audience want to engage with you, to make sure that this is possible.
Sure, because people will have a lot of questions because it creates curiosity, right? They want to know how do we start with NCASE, or how do I start the certification, how do I do it, or like the one you asked, right? That's a good question, right? So people creates fake videos, right? So with the video analyzer and image analyzer, we can actually see, if you send an image, we can actually find out reading EXIF data where that photo has taken originally.
Wow.
Even WhatsApp deleted messages also we can recover.
You can recover. Wow.
You can recover everything. And even WhatsApp location, some people sends a fake location. That is also possible, live location. So all those things we can actually recover. How they change, everything is recorded because it's a digital device, right? So once you type, everything is recorded.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Hima. And then, looking forward to have you with us. If you still have any, companies that are looking to participate in the mini hack, right? So please send them our way. We're still looking for companies, great cash prizes to win. And and then I'll see you next week at the conference virtually.
Thank you so much. Sure. Do let me know. I would love to hear the questions from audience and happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you, Hima. Thank you. Take care.
The logo is there, up and running? Is the logo?
I'll quickly check. I sent everything to the team. I think probably over the night, it's going to update again. I'll check. And then if not, I'll make sure that it's
okay.
there.
Sure. Thank you so much. The reason I'm asking is I will give you a shout out once the logo is there. I'll put it so that it will bring some people.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hima. Take care.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Karina? Yes. Perfect. Karina is perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice talking to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.